How's it going?
So, hello everybody. I see we got a couple people in the chat, but
Yeah.
so this is episode 6, 5. Which one are we
This
on?
is actually, it's your 5th or 6th. It's actually 7. So, Mo Big is in the house.
Hey, Mo.
So Kevin. Hey, Mo, how you doing?
Did you give him one of those screwdrivers?
Not yet, but you know what, Mo? We're going to try that tonight. I hope you're okay with that.
It's weird. I'm not seeing.
Well, let me see what I can do.
The live chat.
I'm going to see what I can do. No? I want to try it, Mo. Hang on a minute.
He says, I consent to be wrenched.
What do you say?
I consent to be wrenched. That's pretty funny, you know? You think you're never going to hear something, and then you hear it. But so while you're figuring out, should I just be the mouthpiece and kind of, go off what we're doing with our book right now?
Yeah, let me see.
Because you know me,
it's hard for me
not to talk. Silence is deafening to me.
Yeah,
Derek, you got to let me be free. Tell me when I can go. You see me? I'm starting to dance a little bit.
Go for it.
Go for it. Okay. So a quick update on our comic. We're doing a couple things right now. So we're working on covers. We're going to have a couple different covers, but they're not just a different cover. Each cover is different because the book is a little different. So I won't let out why each comic book would be a little different outside of just the cover, but that will be something we'll be releasing. Just saying, we kind of have different editions of our comic book. And a little clue is there's not added pages, nothing added story, just something cool that involves the world we have it in. So hopefully that makes it sound a little good, a little intriguing. We're also, Derek's working on drawing the cards. He's going to actually be live drawing one of them tonight. One of our characters, Burn, and we'll go into a little bit about him. We've been going into our characters kind of week by week, our big 5 that we have. Do you want me to go into Burn, or do you want me to wait till that? So you got him up? You got him?
Well, let's call him up. Let's call him up right now, and let's just say what we're going to do with him.
Okay. So this is Adelburn. Wait, go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Go ahead. Well, I'm just going to draw stream while you talk, and we'll talk. We'll interact with the chat. We get some people in here, so we'll just go for it. So
this is Adelburn. This is our 4th character that we're showing and giving some background in. He's the oldest of our main 5 that we have in the story. Don't be shy, people. Okay. Mo just said, don't be shy. I don't know if that's referring to us or to the chat. But so again, this is Adelburn. I like to call him Burn. He's the oldest of the group. He's the wisest in some ways and then not so wise in others. But they all do listen to him at times. He's an expert in knowing of the animals of the world. What he's done in the past is he's done a lot where he was either trapping animals for reasons or hunting animals for food or trying to take animals away if they were near a civilization that had a problem. So that's kind of been his whole life, was just all about kind of being a beastmaster. I didn't want to say that because I know that'll go to something Derek liked when he was a kid, and I was never into Conan or a He-Man or Beastmaster something. Who's Beastmaster? I know Beastmaster something.
Yeah, well, it's a movie. It was a pretty cheesy movie, but there's some cool pieces to it.
But it has nothing to do with Conan or He-Man.
No, but it's in that vein. Very much in that vein. It was an original story. And he got to where he could control beasts, almost like Tarzan, but he had like a cool Black Panther with him and things like that.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll say Adelbert doesn't talk to animals. There's nothing. Animals don't talk. Honestly, I don't talk in this universe either. But they don't. But he studies them. He knows how to react. He understands how animals do the things they do. So he's very professional in that.
You're not going to start singing that song, are you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop
don't do quoting things in the 60s. I don't know that stuff.
Yeah, don't do it.
What song were you actually thinking of?
Do That Thing You Do.
Oh man, I had that in my head last week.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do it. That's why I'm like, don't do that. Please don't sing that. I'll kill you. It'll ruin our stream. Everybody will leave.
So, did we have we told people what our characters are doing in the beginning of our comic or no?
No, you can show it or talk about it a little bit.
I could talk about what they're doing?
Yeah.
Are you sure? That's like our first 7 pages.
I mean, intro it a little bit. I wouldn't give away everything. Just give away enough.
Well, I feel like if we talk about it, your first couple panels will give away stuff. So, I won't say what they're doing, but
all right.
Now you got people he is the tasks that they're dealing with at this time. He has a very important part to play. So going into his background, we've always talked about cultures that our characters would be in. So if you're going to think of any culture, it would kind of be, I guess, like Russian or Siberian, those cold, hard countries. That's what he would kind of be from, type of that area. And of course, my cat's talking now.
Yeah, he has a lot to say about that.
Yeah, talk about Beastmaster. I'll just have her here then, Derek. Maybe we'll get more views if I just have the cat.
Hey, perfect.
You know what I mean?
Cats, draw stream, we got it all going on.
She's got a better face than me. She's got more fur than I got to.
She really does. I will agree with you. She's got a better face.
So he actually meets Mare. So Mare meets a lot of his friends through wars in other countries. That's not how he meets Adelburn. But Adelburn doesn't just have a big history with animals. He has a big history with the gods. Adelburn belief system is very much in destiny, and that things happen for a reason, and that there's not complete free will. And so him knowing Mare and Mare's family, even more so, he feels that Mare has a destiny, and Burn, almost to a fault, wants that destiny to happen. So out of any of the characters, he's probably the most religious, if you want to call him religious. I mean, he's not like praying or anything when he wakes up, anything like that. But he definitely believes that the gods have their hands in things, and a big thing on destiny. So it's not like just because the other characters together doesn't mean they have the same belief system. So there's sometimes he wants to do something that others don't, and that's because of his belief system. So, he's, since he's older too, he's harder to talk to. He's harder to, teach new tricks and get him on the same thing. Kind of like Derek. Like Derek's so old, it's so hard to get him to do something.
You're right about some things.
Old dog.
That's very true.
So since most of the other good characters are younger, there's a good amount of times they do not agree with Adelburn. So, but it's a good dynamic. Oh man, Mo Biggs is going off in the chat.
Oh yeah, what's he saying?
Oh man.
Oh nice. Yeah, he is a spiritual man.
He looks like an intelligent version of Rob Arnold. He goes, I like Beastmaster as a kid.
Getting low.
So I guess Beastmaster's on HBO. I have HBO. Is it watchable or no? Like, Mo, is it, you like it because you were a kid?
I think it's watchable. I loved it. I actually loved it.
As an adult, you'd like it? It wasn't like a kid thing that now you watch it and you'll regret it?
So this right here, he said, if you missed Beastmaster on HBO, you just had to wait an hour or two. He's exactly right. They played that thing all the time on HBO. I had that when I was a kid, man. That was great.
Yeah, Mo says he's getting out. So there's Amanda B.
Ah, yeah, there we go. Hello,
now Mo says he's not currently on HBO. So
it's getting dated, so they've moved on to something new now, I guess.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, okay. It's probably not on HBO. So,
and then
Kevin,
my dad said he's going to watch you draw today? As I talk, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, I stepped on you. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
I was just saying, my dad was in the chat too, saying he's going to watch you draw as I talk.
Right.
Which is probably a good thing. I mean, people did like watching you draw. I mean, I think it is very relaxing watching people draw. So it is very nice. So I said a lot about Adelburn.
I was trying to cover Amanda whenever you said that about your dad. So yeah, there's two of us. Kevin's feeling better tonight.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling great tonight.
So go ahead, Kevin.
So I said a lot about him. Derek, is there anything that you think needs added? Anything that you liked about him that I might not have said?
Well, Adelburn to me is, he's kind of a spiritual guide to them for sure. And I think he also, he has his own thing, and he's trying to teach the young, I guess, kids with him.
You wanted to say whippersnappers, but was afraid of sounding.
I didn't want to say that, but it's true. I mean, the truth is, he's thinking he's leading them and showing them, and he's got the most experience too, other than Mare. He's actually, been around a while, so he knows some of the ways of the world and what they're up against, and he also is a believer in some of the things that have happened before this generation of humans were on the earth.
Whether they were true myths or legends.
Which I think is a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about tonight. The myths and legends of our world we're building. And it has a big piece to the story of why we're doing what we're doing, what we're writing this story for. So, oh, hey, you got a friend on here, James.
Hello, He's here James. To give me a hard time. Yeah. He doesn't read comic books, but he does like comic book movies. So,
well, good.
But so
that's great.
Kind of what Derek was saying. So a big part of our comic is about mythology. So for instance, Tolkien, when he wrote Lord of the Rings, it just didn't have to do with language, since that's what he was, he went to school for and everything. But he wanted to make a mythology for Europe. He felt like they really didn't have a good one. So his whole idea was Lord of the Rings, and the ages were supposed to be back then, just like the Greeks or the Romans or Norse, or because Tolkien really liked Norse mythology. I believe even Gandalf, parts of him are because of Thor's dad.
Parts of him?
Yeah, like what's Thor's dad's name? I can't think of his name. Yeah, Odin. How Odin would be in the woods and would appear at times for people. Like that's why you get Gandalf comes back and forth
Oh, okay.
In the stories. At least that's what I've heard. I've heard that in documentaries. But we don't want to make a mythology for one culture or region. We want to make our book is a mythology about all cultures. So, me and Derek have both always liked mythology. I mean, I never considered Lord of the Rings mythology, but when it came to, the Greek, the Roman, the Norse. I mean, those were always awesome. And the funny thing is, until I went to college, I only thought they were the ones that had mythology.
Wait, who were the only ones?
I didn't know Celtics, the Irish, had a mythology.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that growing up. I wish I would have. Because I read Odysseus. I freaking loved Odysseus. So I really did think it was like a European Roman thing and not, I never really knew. Like, I didn't know Japan, China, they have mythology.
I knew they had mythology. What I didn't know was what their mythology was. We never, I mean, Greek and Roman is kind of a typical mythology that gets taught in school. They actually talk about it.
Well, because Hercules.
How many other cultures do you hear about?
No. Well, I think, and two, I took Latin in high school. So, of course, that was that region. So, do you learn any history of Asia at all? You know what I mean?
No,
like, their mythology is great. Like, you don't know. School doesn't give you any of that good stuff.
No, they don't really go into it. And the truth is, like, even the Middle East, I don't know if we've been at odds with the Middle East, but man, they have a really rich mythology that's interesting and different from everybody else in the world. Yeah. And I'm only recently finding out about it, and it's got me really enthralled. I mean, I love it. It's something new to kind of grasp onto, to just go, man, what's that all about? And I love learning, and so when I learn something new like that, it's very intriguing.
So before I keep going, just want to, I know you usually look at the chat, but it's hard for you with drawing. So
that's all right. I'll give it a look.
So Mo brings up Beastmaster again, and then James is asking if that's a show or movie. Mo says there's both. I didn't know there was a Beastmaster show, but he says the movie.
Yeah, it's the movie that we're talking about, the old 80s movie that was kind of cheesy, but as a kid, man, that got my imagination going, man. I loved it.
So James says he'd watch it because he's a Smallville fan. I have no idea what Smallville has to do with Beastmaster. So I know what. Yeah, how is that anything with Beastmaster? That's Superman. There's no beast in Smallville, right? But cows. Well, what is he talking? James, you have to reply to that because I have no idea.
I think what he's saying. I think I know what he's saying. You were talking about what he loves. He loves some comic movies and things like that. And he's saying, "Well, I don't know Beastmaster, but I know Smallville." And so
that makes way more sense.
Yeah, and then he goes, "Well, now I'm talking about comics." So maybe I was off base.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
that's all right.
Do they? I mean, you were way more into Superman comics. Do they have a Smallville where he's like learning his powers and being young? Or no, was that just made for the show? Derek?
No, they went into it a little bit, I think, in the comics, but not as in depth.
They don't have like a young Superman.
Yeah, they did a little bit of it. It got touched on in different origin stories, but it changed. Do they
do that with Superboy?
A lot. Yeah, but Superboy's a little different. I mean, that's a different story. So
no, I'm not. No, I'm talking about when he died. There was 4 of them, and there was the young one. I'm not talking about the Superboy that's from the other.
Yeah, that's a little different. I mean, that was a completely different story, and they didn't really go into him growing up. Okay. So, yeah, that was completely different.
So we don't just have a background. So once we started doing, because we've been working on this for 4 years now, so we've gotten deep dived into pretty much most of the mythologies out there.
Gotta love Mo.
A teenage beast step through a magical portal and end up at Smallville. Hey, does Beastmaster have portals? What's his thing?
I don't know. I forget. It's been so long since I've seen that movie now. I forget if it had a portal in it. Hey, Mo, did the wrenching work? I hope it did. I can't see it on my end, but I hope it did.
Yeah, he's got a wrench.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that it was working. Check in. I don't want to say we gave it to you and it didn't work or something. So
Amanda, she said He-Man did.
Oh yeah, He-Man had portals, right? Is that what you're talking about? That's right, it did. I am wrenched now. Thanks. You're welcome, Mo. I tried to do it last stream and I couldn't figure it out, and I finally figured it out. So hopefully I get my crap together this time.
Is it easy to do?
Yeah, now that I figured it out. I should have known last week. I don't know what it was. Getting technology down. A lot to learn lately.
So we've went a deep dive into mythology, and it is so interesting how all of these cultures from different parts of the world have so many things in common. It is ridiculous. And so this is going to be easy for us to combine them all. It'll make sense, and it's very interesting. We have a lot of reasons for why the things are the way they were, pre-flood, and with us having everything on Pangea, it makes everything even closer. But honestly, a real life example is in the Egyptian pyramids. There's actually some walls that have Aztec art on them, and they know for sure it's Aztec because that's the stuff they have in the Aztec pyramids. So a lot of people are like, man, that's sure a long way to boat. And, history's always told us we didn't know any part of that world for so long. Right. So as the more and more things come up the history, it looks like the old world, not only were they a lot smarter than what we were told growing up, like being able to build pyramids and it's amazing if you really get into it. Don't want to say too many things.
No, go ahead. I think that's a good thing to talk about because that's part of what we're doing here.
In the real world, like you'll see where they've got the rocks for different things, not just the pyramids, but it's always like miles and miles away. And the rock that's cut out, the cut is pristine. It's not like a jagged cut, like you get something with a saw or a knife. It's almost like laser-like precision. And so Not only do we have buildings, the Seven Wonders, that we don't understand how they made them, like we still can't make the pyramids. You can't even put a piece of paper in between any of the rocks. But then there's these numerous other things that are out there that we have no idea how they did it, like the cutting out of these mountains and rocks. I forget where it is, but there's a part of the world that has all these like round balls that are huge, that like weigh a ton, and they're all over the place, and no one has any idea what they are or what they do. And it's almost, the more and more you look at this world, the more and more questions add up, where like, what is this? What is going on? And we think we have reasons, and if our reasons aren't good, they're at least entertaining. So
yeah, our chat's pretty entertaining right now, which I'm having a lot of fun with this.
The wrench went to his head.
Of course it did. Of course it did. And Mo's trying to help these guys get to the next level. 2 likes on a video level.
Hey, we'll take anything.
And we have now achieved, thanks in no small part to viewers like you.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So,
my wife's
other things I want to talk about, what's really interesting with all these mythologies. So, they all have gods. They all have a place where the gods are. They all have interaction with man and trying to control man. They all have demigods. They all have these mythical beasts. They all have places in the world. Like, they don't have made-up places like, what's a made-up place? Derek.
Well, Atlantis would be almost made up. I mean, it's mythological.
No, that was real.
But
we're making it real.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a lot of people don't believe it's real.
I think that's debatable.
But it's a mythological place. I mean, for sure, because there's a lot of mythology tied into it.
We're going to have them in ours, and we're going to have what happens to them. But that's nothing near where we're at right
You're
now.
giving stuff away. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's cool. No, let's talk about it. I mean,
Well, I'm not going to talk about.
Kevin was afraid of what we're going to talk about tonight was going to give away too much of our plot, but I just said have fun with it and let's talk about it because there's some things that we need to intrigue people about what's going on with our story.
We're definitely not telling anyone what the Celestials are because they're our own thing and they're wonderful and it'll be amazing, but we will bring them in little by little into the story. But there's a reason the story is called The Ballad of the Celestials. Other things that all mythology has, they all have an underworld, like a Hades, which is pretty interesting. They all have these, not only do they have like beasts, but they'll have like giant beasts that are like earth shaking. They all usually have some type of dragon or some type of something that can fly that's formidable. That are usually barely around, but you'll see them. I'm just going off my head. I should have wrote this list down. Just going off the top of my head.
No,
all the things that they have.
Who are you talking about right now?
I'm talking about all of them. The Egyptians, the Norse, the Greek and Roman, the Japan, Chinese, Babylonians. They all have those things. They all have a flood, and ours is pre-flood. They all have giants.
Hey,
all have heroes.
Hello, Vaughn. Nice of you to join us tonight. Good to see you on here.
They all have end of the world scenarios, and if you've been on our YouTube before, I've mentioned where this comic's going to be based on novels that I was writing, and actually, like 3 of the novels were going to have like an end of world things, but I don't know if I'm going to want to do that because if we do that, then the comic ends. So,
but I mean, let's talk about the Nephilim though, the Nephilim, or however we want to pronounce it.
Okay, so giants,
whatever. So the giants.
So these are the giants that are in the Middle East. So the Babylonians. There's also like Christian mythology books that aren't in the Bible. There's this book called Enoch, that's where that term Nephilim come from. I believe it's a Hebrew term. So they have that. So did the Babylonians. So did the Middle Easterns. But it's not just there. Like I said, it's everywhere. I mean, there's Cyclopses in the Greek and Roman, and Norse have giants. If you've seen the Thor movies, Native Americans, they talk about having giants. There's even, don't they have a drawing or a painting? There's something where there's stories about it. There's stories about giants all over the place. And it's interesting. This is a thing you can go deep dive into too, but there's been discoveries of a lot of bodies that are gigantic. There are molds of like feet in mountains that are huge.
Sure.
And there's theories behind all of it, and it's just very, very interesting. So we will have giants.
I think with the giants for us, the giants, of course, were influenced by Enoch for us, but that we're not sticking to just biblical concept or anything like that. I mean,
taking everything, and then
we're
bringing in stuff that are coming out of our crazy minds.
Right, and then when you talk about this mythology, I get excited because we can play with that.
Yeah.
And it's more about the plot of, I guess, what are the Nephilim doing? Why are they the villains of this story? And, and I think that's what becomes most interesting is what are they doing to mess with humans or regular people or our heroes, what's their motivation? And so do you want to talk about that at all, or do you want to leave it?
No, I don't want to talk about their motivations.
Okay.
Because they don't all have the same motivation, but it's a big plot point, so I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the thing I want to talk about, I do like the fact that it does, what their motivation is that it ties into the rest of the world's mythology.
Yeah.
And so I know we're talking generalization here, but
I don't want to just say that. I want to say again, we're making a mythology, but mythology were considered actual religions. Like every story in every religion, there's always a fight over power, money, land.
Yeah.
So
Right.
as Derek's talking, they have reasons, but not all of them have the same reasons. Like, so there's an
No.
over arc of their culture that has it, but you're going to have them as individuals and doing different things that doesn't go with the pack. And so,
No,
you
but
know,
I think what I want to talk about is more of what are they, I think it ties in with the mythology, and tell them how it ties into that a little bit. I mean, I don't think you have to give away all the motivation, but you can at least talk about
so okay,
what
I'll
they
say
might
this
do.
without getting plots, but so the giants in mythology are never like Andre the Giant, where they just grew so big because there was a problem. There's always a reason, whether it's giants had babies, but again, where did those giants come from? Some giants come from like inside the earth. Some giants are born from gods, or then you got titans. So there's different reasons why they would be around. In our story, there's a specific reason, but there's a reason they don't like mankind in ours. But I would say in any mythology you go, giants have never respected humans because we look like ants to them, so they've always looked down on us. So it's not like the giants have ever been pro mankind.
But I like the fact that they also want what we have. I mean,
you're scaring me, but what you're
I
gonna look
know,
out.
but they want what the humans have, which is
Sure.
the life that they've been given is not something that the giants have been able to achieve. And
well,
so that's part of the motivation.
Something I want to say too, in our story,
So we
the
won't get into
giants
that.
are very new. It's not like the giants have been in the past. So most people don't even know giants exist when the comic starts. So that'll be brought in slowly as well. But again, like religious texts, mythical texts, you always, Goliath, there's giants that have always been around the place. And hey, go to YouTube, look up giants. It's crazy. They're in the Middle East. There's actually this place called the City of the Giants. And they've been looking for it. And some people feel like they've actually found it.
That's
So
the city of
that's a
Ad,
very
right?
interesting thing too.
The city of Ad.
Yeah. There's actually there's a book called the Book of Giants that would have been in Jewish literature that wasn't biblical, but they've never found enough of it. They've only ever found sheets of paper to where they can't even make out what the story is about. So there's a story about giants, and we don't know, at least from the Middle East, we don't know. The Book of the Giants has just been ripped apart and nobody has it.
Yeah. I agree with Mo. Giants have one weakness: ceilings. But the thing I like about the Giants is
they do have weaknesses, and it'll be interesting. I think people will like the one thing we use for man to fight giants. I think people will like.
It'll be cool. Well, what I was saying was, I think the Giants actually, there's so much we can play with them. They're a catalyst, and that's what I look at them like. They're a plot device that will move the story. They're not just villains and just to be a villain. You know what I mean? And that's not fun to do anyway. So I think it'll be cool to really have some interesting motivations there, which we will get into. So go ahead.
But it won't be in our first comic again.
No.
There's only two of us, so
yeah, we really barely scratch it in the first. We barely scratch it in the first comic, so
yeah. Scratch is really the right term, honestly.
Yeah,
it's barely a scratch.
Yeah, but it'll get there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. So that was even hard about writing the first one. I kind of wanted to put a lot of information out, kind of how Lord of the Rings the movie does it, but Derek was like, nope, keep it all for later. Slow slow. But then when we get on YouTube, all of a sudden now he wants to start talking about everything. So it's
Well, I'm also realizing that just because you talk about it doesn't mean it really gives much away, because
yeah.
you still have to read the comic, and it unfolds. But I think it's neat to give some insight into where, at least what made us pick the Giants as our villain, as one of our villains. Um, and I think it's fun to talk about, because mythology is fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a thing too, not only is our book mythology, but it's a venture. And again, going back to like Odysseus, his was all about adventure, and so that's going to be a big part of our book. Our characters are going to go to many different cultures, many different parts of the world, and because the world is so much together, it's kind of easy to have all these, kingdoms or lands or tribes or people so
Yeah.
close that it's easy to kind of get them to interact. And what's nice too, then we can go into each culture, put what the culture is known for, what their resources are, what their belief systems are. And so it's really fun, kind of. So not only are we making up characters, but we're making up whole countries, civilizations, cultures. Cultures will
Yeah.
have different religions.
Which
Even
that's
though
what I
it's,
wanted to talk about, was how the world building comes from some of the religion and the cultures that we're trying to create. And
Mhm.
so, in making this comic, we're trying to figure out, what are we doing with some of these cultures? What are they going to look like? Or what are they going to act like? Are they going to look like some normal cultures that we've seen on the earth, or are they going to have something totally original? And I think we're still playing with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, again, like I've even said, there's things that we can't explain. So maybe there's technology that they had that we didn't realize, or we weren't able to see. Again, you have a worldwide flood; it could literally wash everything away. So,
Yeah,
you know. But
definitely.
again, there'll be reasons why the pyramids didn't wash away. There are reasons. At least I feel like
I
there's
mean, it
reasons
does make
why
you
things are.
wonder, were the pyramids there before the flood, or were they after the flood?
Well, I don't know. Do scientists still say it's a flood myth, or do they believe there was a worldwide flood? I feel like they do, because don't they even talk about rocks in America that are from Canada? Or I don't know if that's maybe something
I
more of
don't
the
know.
Ice Age.
That's one thing I don't know, but I do feel like I don't always listen to some of that put out there, because I feel like we're not getting the full story. You know, I believe that some of it, they think they want to act like they know, and I just don't know if they actually have the right information. And other times I feel like they're spinning it, and other times maybe they're dead on. You know what I mean? It's just like getting news from anything else, any other resource, is what it feels like these days.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
hard to trust if it's real or not.
I mean, but every culture has the flood. Every one of them.
Right. And that's one thing I think you can trust in, is the fact that when every culture has studied it and talked about it over the centuries, man, there's got to be something to it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how could it be that much, that talked about and that storied, I guess you could say, and not have
Well,
some realism to it?
and again, I started to write my books 20 years ago after I saw Lord of the Rings in the theaters. And at that time I didn't know anything. It's honestly really interesting. A lot of my story fits with mythology. So as we were even getting into things, it was like, whoa, this
Yeah.
works with this, or that works, like, oh man, this is crazy how well this works out. So I mean,
Well,
it is very interesting, the ideas we brought, and then things that we keep finding out. It's like, man, that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
yeah. So Mo says, my view on spoilers is whether the information will affect someone's
Yeah.
experience reading the book for the first time. Knowing that Darth Vader's a bad guy won't. Knowing that he's Luke's dad might.
Whoa,
Right.
spoilers. Darth Vader's his dad?
And Vaughn says, we're all in the shell of a great tortoise.
Oh, that is interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
You
that
could be
is.
right.
Oh man, did he just ruin our book? Was that the end?
He's a writer, so I'm sure he's got some ideas.
Yeah.
Sure he
It's the thing is though, it's not a regular turtle. His name is Michelangelo.
And he
And
loves the turtle way.
He knows ninjutsu. So
Right.
that's the big.
I would hope that if I was writing a turtle, he would be a ninjutsu turtle, like a ninja.
It is funny how well that worked out, because even when you put it in your head, it's like, how is that a hit? But it just works out. It's so weird.
It was perfect. It was perfect. It was great timing. It was great storytelling. It was fun. It hit all the marks, man.
And it was independent.
Yep. Oh yeah, it is definitely almost I guess the template for what we are a part of right now.
Well, it was the highest grossing independent movie of all time in its day.
Yeah.
I don't know now if you put inflation where it still ranks of other independent movies, but at that time in the 90s, no other movie that was independent made that much. So
Right.
The funny thing is, Derek, it's way easier for me to talk when you're talking because I don't like to hear you. It's hard for me to talk when you're drawing because I just want to watch you draw.
Because you want to cut me off every time I talk. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'd like to just see my face.
So it gives me a lot more energy.
Right.
Right. But I'm getting like lulled into watching you draw because it is calming. So it's hard to be
good. I have to.
It's like my brain is in two.
Sometimes
it's like my left brain and my right brain aren't working together here. So it's it's difficult, but
yeah.
What else did you want me to bring up about? Because I know you said you liked mythology to be us talking about it tonight.
Well, I mean, some of the things that we're talking about right now has to do with a deeper mythology than just urban legend. When we had 656 comics on here, we were talking about urban legend stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're actually starting to get deeper where it's actually almost philosophical or religion based. And
mythology was religion. People worship Zeus.
Right. And to me, that's what's intriguing about it, because it does set the stage. Look how religion has affected our world, throughout history. It has changed the course of history, shifted the world around.
Yeah.
Wars, settlements, everything that's happened all over the world is a lot to do with a religion or some kind of belief system.
Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to cover that we were, thinking about that with our comic book. I mean, it's not just that we're doing, I guess, a comic with bad guys in it. And,
well, there's a great quote. I don't know who is it, but they say Zeus ruled the world till Jesus came. That that's everyone worships Zeus.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of true.
Yeah, I mean
Greek and Roman mythology were, mega at that time until Christianity came and wiped it off the face of the planet, basically. Which
there are still Greeks that actually practice it, that still worship.
Sure, but
Zeus.
I think that's what's interesting is how did that happen? Like, where did it all go, or why did those people just all of a sudden stop believing, or if they not just believing, but like the culture changed at that point. It wasn't just
didn't the Catholic Church kind of kill people when they didn't want to believe it?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's part of it. Of course they did. But I think it was also, it wasn't just a shift in the belief system, but a shift in, culture and civilization itself.
Most changed. Religions before the Christian one, well, I guess you could say the Jews had the same belief of bringing people into their religion, where other cultures, it was their religion. They didn't care what other people believed in. Right. You know what I mean? I don't think Greeks spread the good news of Zeus, right? It was, we have
I don't
our
think
gods,
so.
they have theirs, and weren't, kind of the Abraham religions are more about, hey, everyone's supposed to follow his God, that he's supposed to
Yeah,
be the man of many nations,
right.
which is actually what's happened when you look at
Yeah,
Christianity, Judaism, and Muslims. I mean,
yeah. It's
those three
interesting,
together are still the biggest religions out there.
right? And that's it's kind of weird to think that that comes along and does that. And so I don't know. I like thinking about that for our characters and how that's going to play a part, you know, shaping where they head, how they go there. Um, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah. Belief systems can move mountains. Really, like even people will always sacrifice for their children, but people will sacrifice for religion as well. Like,
yeah,
that's why we had all those wars over religion, and we still do in the Middle East. Like,
right.
people will die for it. It's so it does. I think so many shows and stuff don't put gods or religion into things, which I think at times they have to make their characters do something stupid to get a story going, which I think religion, to take a quote from the Ghost Rider movie when he goes, God's on his side, which makes him unpredictable. And I think religion does make people unpredictable
Yeah,
because
definitely.
anybody with a religion can believe God is doing this or God isn't doing this, which could
Hmm.
change their mind where they would like, hey, I'm going to fight them. Oh no, God wants me to leave them alone, or no, God wants me to take them over. Two different people could have those two different views with the same religion. So
Right.
I think it helps story building. It helps people's and characters'
Well,
motivations. We
one
haven't went to the
thing,
chat in a while.
yeah, well, actually just did. And
Oh, nothing.
okay, so Jim says faith. Yeah, it is faith. And talking about that, a hero's faith, I mean, that
Yeah.
motivates. Like somebody was just talking about, I think on was it Shelby's stream? It was somebody's stream we were on. Might have been Fraga. They were talking about how, you know, you have those heroes that no matter what they do, oh, that's what it was. It was Fraga. They were drawing Conan. And they were talking about how um, no matter what, Conan did the right thing. Like he didn't leave people behind. He had a code that he lived by.
Well,
And I'm
Captain
like,
America, haven't we all
well,
fallen in love with him?
yeah, I mean that too. And to me, it's like that code is how they gauge whether they're doing the right thing or um, or what motivates them to want to do the right thing by Crom. That was Conan's faith. He had faith in Crom. Um,
Or
and
one of
so,
the best scenes ever in the Netflix series Daredevil and Punisher having their conversation about killing criminals or giving them second chances, and both
right.
of their beliefs
Yeah, it's a
completely,
belief system, definitely.
yeah, completely
Um,
reflected how they did stuff. Punisher was like, I put them down for good, and Daredevil's like, I can't. I believe in hope that they're still, they have a soul, they have a spark, and it's a great conversation
exactly.
because it is.
It is a great conversation, and it's a motivating conversation, and it moves the story, and you can actually base a whole story around that concept. And that's why I'm so glad we're using some religious aspects, some beliefs or cultural aspects into our characters. They're not just, you know, two-dimensional, they're more
No.
than that. Um, and I could actually think like they would, you know what I mean? Um, I can see why they think the way they do.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think what is interesting too is all of us, you go through changes in puberty, but also as a teenager, your mind grows and you start to question things, and then even in your 20s, you question things. You're making big life decisions. So I think everyone understands that, not just questioning yourself, what you believe, but question things you've been taught, question religion, question your country. Like, I think that's a big thing. Even in our country right now, there's a lot of people that are being taught to hate America for America's sins. And that's kind of their religion, where they hate America, where they won't stand for the flag or put their heart over. We're seeing that with athletes all the time. And, you know, that's their belief, is that America's evil, even though it's where they live and get all their benefits from. And it's not trying to get political, but just you see it, you know.
I mean, if we just keep it to what you're talking about, though, I mean, I agree with you. I think that, you know, it when that happens, though, I think we start to lose, you know, we're starting to lose some, I guess, patriotism and things like that.
Sure.
And so, and usually once we start losing the patriotism, that's when big catastrophes happen somehow, like 9/11. So I hope nothing like that happens, but it's just what we've seen pattern wise. That's what seems to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm always a big thinker, and I think we always, not only do we judge ourselves usually harsher than anyone else ever is, but I think, you know, sometimes we question things just to feel something new, or feel like we're educated, or feel like other people are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rebellion, that's for sure. It's a rebelliousness, and you know, and that's understandable. I mean, some of that, you know,
that can be healthy too, as long as there's,
right.
I think it is good to question things.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad either. I think that's not the problem that's going on lately, though. I think we're more than questioning. We're starting to actually, like, throw everything out.
Yeah. Catholic Church added pagan symbols into their traditions. Notice the sun around the Celtic cross. Well, I guess it made it easier for people to convert them when you did it. I mean, people don't realize even the religious holidays have a lot of pagan in them, like Easter and the eggs and the Christmas Yule log and the tree. And like, we do have pagan practices, religious practices that are not Christian, that are still around, that people don't know about. So it's you know, things do kind of start to mash together. And what's really interesting, if you ever look into like sayings, there's a lot of sayings we have, and when you look at where they came from, like, it's crazy. Like, you remember that song, "Ashes, Ashes, We All Fall Down"? And I said it, and now I can't remember what it's from, but it's from something horrifying, like a disease or something. Isn't it? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, they put the posies in their pocket, and it's all got to do with, like, I think a plague, right?
Yeah. Where kids, you don't realize that. You're not thinking about that.
Right.
So, and I mean, Catholicism, that's interesting to go into. But look at even that, like how that shaped kings. Like, kings would be like, well, let's focus on this a little bit more so I can have another wife. Or, again, like I said, power battles where the Pope would battle against the kings or queens, or, you know what I mean? So like you said, I don't think adding religion to stories ever hurts. I think it only hurts if you're attacking a person's religion,
or getting preachy. I mean, I mean, that's definitely not.
Honestly, getting preachy about anything, you can get preachy that blue's the best color in the world. Guess what? That gets old after you hear, "Oh, blue is the best color in the world." Like, shut up.
Right. Well, and
I have a friend that talks about Megadeth all the time, and it's like, shut up.
Megadeth's awesome. That's why. Anyway, so I mean, for me, the intriguing part about this is that we can play with different things. When you think about animals or hybrid animals, even things that were in mythology, like name one, a fawn, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like Tumnus from, what was it, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, he's a fawn. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a
where
fawn.
they just have the two legs. I can't think of
Yeah.
the half. I was thinking of the half man, half horse, but I can't think of what they're called. Centurions,
That's
centaurs.
And so, to me, playing with different beings like that in the story are going to be fun.
The
We're going to have
Egyptians
that.
had the dog-faced men.
Well, not just dog-faced men, but they worship them as gods. And so, which is going to be pretty interesting to see that too, because there will be cultures doing those things. When I think of India had like half elephant, half man,
Multiple arms.
Buddha was multiple
Oh,
arms.
you want to get into something crazy? There's old religious texts in India that talk about a fireball in the sky. Here's the crazy thing. They said everyone who lived near it had their hair fall out and their nails fall. You know where that happens from? Nuclear bombs. So there are people who are like, did they have nuclear bombs back then?
That was like Anunnaki, though, right? Didn't that have something to do with the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki are in Babylon. This is India. India has it. India has it that they had like flying saucer things.
Okay.
And there's a battle where they say that the fire scorched the whole forest and that anyone who lived near there lost their hair and lost their fingers. So there's no bomb that does that. Like nuclear nuclear bomb, what's in it? What's the stuff, the toxin?
Yeah, it's radioactive.
Yes, that will make people's nails and hair fall out. There's nothing else.
Right.
There's honestly nothing else you can explain that to. There's no other type of fire or explosion that would do that to people who lived around that weren't touched by the fire. It was an after effect. That sounds like nuclear bomb. So who's to say? I mean, they made the pyramids and we can't make them. We can't even lift the rocks that they made the pyramids with. We don't have a machine that can lift them.
I think that's one of the most interesting things is when you get into that, it's like, who made it, how?
I know how.
And but I do too, I think I do. And
I think I do.
But science is going to tell you no. Science is going to tell you
science don't have a reason. That's why it's a
they have reasons, but the only thing they can come up with are the logs in the pool system.
That's no reason.
That's what they say. They get them on the logs and rolled them across the logs and pulled them with big teams of people and animals. And I'm like,
those logs ain't going to break.
Well, that too. And the fact
and then how do you get the rocks upon each other?
Right.
What are you doing? Like, come on.
Well, they would have to build a secondary structure all the time. Every level they go up, they would have to build a second structure every time. And so, it doesn't make a lot of sense that they're talking about that. But, it's interesting nonetheless. And it is intriguing. And I think that's one thing I've always liked about the pyramids. The weird thing to me is that it took all that stone, but whenever you get inside the pyramid, they have like hardly any room in there at all. Have you ever noticed that when they go in and actually look inside?
Well, are they telling us the truth, or no one gets to go in it? So
that's part of what I think. I'm like, this big pyramid only has a closet that's like this big for like a man to go sideways in. What the hell is going on here? And that's all they ever show you. Well, this led to this pathway, which dropped into this room, but this room is real small and it's only got a couple sarcophagi. And then, and that's all they show you every time. And I'm like, I just can't believe that that's all there is in these pyramids.
Oh, we will have fun with it.
Yeah.
Ooh, we hit our hour.
Did we?
Do we keep going, or because I thought we could talk about Loki, but we could still save that for next week because it'll be a 4th episode.
I think it depends on what people think.
Of what people think.
I mean, if the chat wants to keep going, if they want to keep watching, we can keep going just a little bit. Sometimes people just like to sit
my dad at 8:56. What time is it now?
It's 9:00.
He said blue was the best color. Well,
Yeah.
anyone in the chat, tell us to keep going, or in 5 minutes we'll end it.
Yeah.
Maybe
We
not
didn't
even
really do a
five.
Duke It Out stream again. The Duke It Out thing, the Duke It Out concept doesn't seem to be working too much. But we either
there hasn't
forget
been much
or
for us to disagree about. I mean,
yeah.
you like Loki, don't you? I love it, so I don't think we duke out against that.
No, I'm liking it. I don't think it's quite spectacular or something.
Oh,
That's mainly
I love it.
it's mainly because whenever I see it, I'm like, okay, I'm expecting a little more, and we never get any. I was really expecting a lot more out of the story. More excitement, I guess.
I mean, I think it's been okay for excitement, but I don't feel that's the type of thing it is, though. I don't know if people are expecting an action comedy or something with Loki, but my dad said save Loki for next week.
Yeah, save Loki for next week.
He's the only one still in the chat. So
okay.
Well, it says we have 4 people, but
yeah,
no
we
one
got
else
people watching still. I don't know what happened to Mo. He kind of dropped off a little while ago, but I was glad he came by and I got to give him a wrench. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
We want to thank everybody for coming. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. If you guys want to talk about this, hit us up. You can always talk to us on Twitter. And in any of the streams that we do, we're going to stream every Tuesday. So just jump in, talk about it. We love to hear you guys chat. We tried to keep up with you. I was drawing tonight, so it was hard to keep up with the chat as much, but man, it was a good time and good talk. We can't wait to bring you our comic book, Ballad of the Celestials, and to show you, some of the world building we're doing and the characters we have. And
I guess we could always have you do a drawing of one of the covers too, because we only have one more character to show.
Yeah, but I'm maybe inking it or something. I don't know if I want to get into drawing it. That would be very time consuming and revealing.
Okay.
So, but hey, thanks everybody for coming. We're going to get more into this kind of subject over and over as we go. So I don't feel like we cut this off. This will happen on and off in discussions, and we'll keep touching upon it. So
even I wasn't going to talk about the Indian history, but I just think that's awesome that in the air an explosion goes off and people miles away are losing their hair and their fingernails. It's like, what did they have?
Yeah, it does make you wonder what that was all about. And the truth is, we probably will never know.
Well, but before we go off, I'll say this. You can even see in history, like the Romans and the Greeks and the Romans, like the water system they had and everything, then it collapsed. Europe didn't have that same water system. So you could even see that even though they were, the 1500s is much later than the Greeks and Romans. Europe didn't have a sewer system and stuff and clean water like they did. That's why they had so many plagues. So you can see that of cultures being at their height and then back down to nothing, which kind of scares you with how up we're going. Does it mean we got to come down? We going to go back down and have to relearn stuff?
I mean, you never know. It's funny how we devolve. You know what I mean? I think because I do believe some of that's done culturally too.
Well, look at what the Egyptians did with mummifying, and then 100 years ago we had bloodletting in actual hair parlors where you just let blood run out of your body and it was supposed to be healthy.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, you're right. It really wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay. Chat's dead.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming. We will see you all next week. We're glad you tuned in. We had a great time tonight, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Peace.